And we're back, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about some important keys to help you land your dream job. And again, been speaking here with Melva Tate with Tate and Associates, HR strategist, and she is going to help us get it together. I wish I had a Melva in my life years ago. I probably wouldn't have had 30,000 jobs.
But they were all learning experiences for you.
Yes, they were. Now, before the break, we were talking about a fit, because a company can put out certain job requirements, what they're looking for. But you also hit on something that they're looking for a fit. What does that mean?
So fit means different things for different organizations, but I will give you my example of what fit means and how I use the term fit when I am sourcing and identifying candidates for my clients. So there are a number of things that I look at. One, I look at the person, how they present themselves. So we're in a very visual society. Your appearance matters. So I want to make sure that I'm hiring someone who looks the part of the organization. If we're a very corporate and structured organization, I'm looking for someone who comes in with the standard attire. If we're a very creative organization, I'm looking for someone who may be more creative in their dress and in their style. But you've got to look the part. And oftentimes we think, all my look should matter. It's based on what I know in my head and what's on paper. And that's not always true. When we compare apples to apples, we're looking for that one or two things that's going to set that individual apart. So look is one of them. The other thing is, how well-rounded is that person? So when I scan a resume, I'm looking at the skill sets that we need that have been advertised, but I will immediately go down to the bottom of the page, because generally on the last or the bottom of the page or the last page is where most individuals will list their volunteer work or community service. Those are the things that will really set you apart from the competition. How are you involved in the community? How are you giving back? Because if I look at an individual who has done those things, meaning that they have given of their time and their talents, I know that that's someone that's going to come in that organization and be creative, willing to work on special projects, willing to work as a team, all those other great things that makes an individual a great fit for the organization.
So that means a job seeker has to do some homework before applying so you can learn the culture of that company.
Absolutely. You've got companies who either on their social media pages, on their website, or you can even Google them. And I strongly encourage anyone, before you even apply to an organization, make sure you've done your homework. Research them to ensure that that's the type of organization that you want to be a part of. I tell my clients all the time, you're a very talented individual. And like LeBron James said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. You need to look at yourself as a free agent taking your talents to this organization. But you need to know something about them to be a part of that team. So in doing your research, you will know that they participated in a fun walk for children with disabilities. And is that something that you can be connected with?
So when you talk about volunteer organizations, I know I spend a lot of time volunteering at my church, but I thought maybe some of the rules is you don't really put your church work. So when people are considering either putting that down or to start to volunteer to get that experience, what type of companies should they look to volunteer for?
I say be diverse. So I don't discourage my clients from putting down volunteer experience with their church, particularly if it's a youth that's just getting started, just graduated from college, and they were a camp counselor during the summer at their church. That's great experience that they can put down to illustrate leadership. So I'm one who say, put it down even if it's religious, but make sure you have a good variety. So they may want to make sure it's a civic organization that they've been involved with, a community organization that they've been involved with, and even a religious organization, or even some of the things that they've been involved with at their school. So a good variety will set you apart. If it's all just religious, then that may say that this person is only involved in their church, not in the community, and it may not present well.
So would you suggest 2 or 3 different organizations to volunteer with, or just one and you just been committed totally to?
I would say 2 or 3. And some of it could be that you volunteer for the annual breast cancer walk. You were one of the volunteers who helped pass out water. That's a one-time event, but you still volunteer, and that gives you some variety. Where at your church, you may volunteer every week. So, big difference.
Gotcha. Now, when you do get the interview, you get the job offer, and they say, we're going to give you this job, and we're going to pay you this salary. We know the economy is just turning around. Should you go in there and say, I'm just going to take what they offer me, or should you go in there and say, well, I thank you for the opportunity. Is there room for us to negotiate the salary?
So negotiation is tricky. I say, first of all, do your homework and know exactly what the market is paying for that job. We can use an accountant as an example. And I'll just use the range of $50,000. So if you know you've done your research and you're applying for a job in this industry as an accountant, the range is $45,000 to $55,000. When they make that offer, you know it fits within that range. So you've done your homework. If they offer you a position and it's lower than what you were anticipating, then you can go back and negotiate, but realize there's a risk in negotiating because everybody may not have been kicked off that island. It still may be one or two individuals who's willing to take $42,000 versus $45,000 for that position. So know that there's some risk, but I say make sure that you are totally comfortable with the full job responsibilities and the salary that's offered and the benefits that are offered before you accept that position.
That's another question, the benefits. So should you consider this job has way more better benefits than I've had before and let the benefits outweigh the money? Or should you look at, I just need the money. I'm not a sickly person, but I really need that other $7,000 to get me that 50.
That's right. So Joy, that's why they call me the career coach. So when I sit down with a client, I make sure that they go through an assessment, a values assessment. What's most important to you? Is it a salary? Is it benefits? Is it time off? Is it flex scheduling? Is it a job that's located near you where you only have a 20-minute commute? So once you identify this job offers this, here are my values, and here's what's most important to me, then you can check those things off the list to make sure that they line up with what you're actually looking for. So some people work just for the benefits. Others work just for that paycheck at the end of the week.
So what if some people, company has downsized and they want to transition? What tips do you have for that person, especially when you're going from A to Z? You may be a plumber, but, now you want to, get a computer programming and work in the office. Mm-hmm.
So I work with a lot of individuals who transition. I'm also in partnership or on a committee with the Jefferson County Workforce Investment Act. We work with a lot of individuals who are transitioning from one field to another. So tap into the resources that are already there. Go to the one-stop job centers, go to the Jefferson County Workforce Investment Act or the Workforce Investment Act office in your community. Mm-hmm. They will share with you what jobs are hot and what jobs employers are looking for. And that may be a great opportunity for you to train. Some training could be 3 weeks, some could be 18 months. May not require you to go back and get a degree. You may only need to get a certification in this particular field. So the information is out there. You just got to do your research and find out what's available and then find out exactly what you need to do to get that, going back to school or getting a certification.
That was my next question. I think you're reading my mind. So at what point do you decide, hey, I need to go back to school? Do I go full-time? I go part-time? Do I just go take a 6-week class, sometime that's offered at the community college?
It's based on what that industry requires. So certainly for those, I used the accounting example earlier, it may be beneficial for you to go back and get your CPA versus a master's in accounting. Some other fields will require you to get, if you're in counseling, they want usually that you have a master's degree versus just a bachelor's degree in a counseling position or some type of social work. So you need to know your industry and know the market and know what's required. I do discourage individuals from going back to school and getting a 2 or 4 year degree if it's not necessary. Sometimes a certification like a CPA or professional in human resources, some other type of certification will generally help you advance in your career than going back to school.
Okay. And then what's your final takeaway that you would like to leave for a job seeker?
I say do your homework, be realistic, connect with someone who is knowledgeable in your industry and your field. Most people bum out going through the whole search process, get to the interview and they bum out because they've not practiced interviewing skills. They have not gone through mock interviews. So do your homework. You got to put in the work and really invest the time if you're trying to find that job. It takes more than just submitting an application and wishing and praying that you get that opportunity to come in and interview. You need to be well prepared. And generally we can identify those people who are not well prepared.
Right.
You're off the island.
and really looking for a job is a job because there's a lot of work involved in
Exactly. I tell my clients, particularly those who are unemployed, if you want a part-time job, put in part-time hours to find a job. That means 2 or 3 hours a day. If you want a full-time job, put in full-time hours to find a job.
Right. And one more quick question, and then I know we're about out of time. What about now it seems like that a lot of companies are making you take those aptitude tests. So what if you have great skills, you believe you're a good fit for the organization, but you can't get past the aptitude test?
Then that means that you're probably not a fit for that job. So in your mind, you've made up that you're someone who has great customer service skills, and this job requires a high level of customer service skills for this position. And the company has already set a benchmark on what those scores need to be. In your mind, you think you're fit, but in actuality, you're not. So it is a true reality check for you to realize, although I think I may be great, the test results show differently. Sometimes we bum out on tests, so I would say don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged if you get a different result on the first one, but after 2 or 3 assessments and it's revealing to you that you're not a fit for that type of job, then chances are you're not a fit for that type of job, and look for something else.
Excellent. Melva, we want to thank you so much for those tips. And of course, if you're a job seeker, you got to take all of this stuff seriously. You got to put in the work. You heard what Melva said. Practice those tests, y'all. Don't be like me. All right, Melva, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate every opportunity, and they can connect with me, The Career Coach, on social media.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back.